exciting. The couple of announcements first, though. Just a reminder, when you leave, one thing you can do to help everybody close up the conference faster, is take all of your garbage with you. I'm seeing lots of Club Mate bottles and cups and things like that. We're going to be asking for everybody's help at the end of the conference to do things like clean up, move chairs around, help strike the set downstairs on second floor. And the more you can help us out, the sooner, the better it will be. This is a volunteer-run conference. We don't make any money much off of it at all. So it's a big help when you can do stuff like that. Also, if you're thinking about getting anything from the 2600 store, please be aware that it's going to close down roughly around the closing ceremonies, I think maybe right before. So don't wait too long to do that. Aside from that, you guys ready to go? Yeah. Cool. Without further ado, the Hackers Without Borders panel.
Hi, I'm Smokey. I am with the Aftershock Action Alliance and the People's Law Collective, and I'm going to be, I guess, kind of facilitating this group panel on Hackers Without Borders. We're going to be talking about technology in a variety of crises, and specifically how this community, the hacker community, can get involved. So I think the other presenter is coming up. You want to say who you are and introduce yourself?
Oh, great. My name is Dennis. I'm with Hackblock. We're a collective that provides tools and resources to anti-authoritarian communities. I'm also a member of the March Hare Collective, a communications collective.
My name's Ringo. I'm also part of Hackblock.
So, this.
Oh. I'm Elena. I'm with Aftershock Action Alliance, and I'm just going to be flipping the slides. I didn't think I need to introduce myself.
So to start this presentation, we have to understand that there are two approaches, and these approaches are not so complementary as they are oppositional approaches to crises. On the one side, I can't see the screen, but somewhere, on one side is the government approach to crises, which really is hallmarked by the idea of management. This has actually changed post-World War II. But the idea is that the government and actually corporations, and even to a certain degree, non-government organizations, large ones like the Red Cross, Salvation Army, other groups that do relief, are interested in managing resources, but most importantly, managing people during times of crisis, which is different than the civil defense idea that the government had, going from the Depression up into World War II, which was a much more civilian-involved process. And this management is recognizable by their, I would say, paranoid desire to control information. They have this desire to keep information from not only the media, but from people both inside a crisis area and outside of a crisis area. Why? Because they believe information will limit their ability to manage a situation. And they want to, in the end, these are means to an end, and the end is to reestablish as quickly as possible the status quo. Get back to what was happening before the disaster, before the civil unrest, or before the crisis. People, like us in the rooms, your neighbors, your co-workers, your fellow students, when we organize for disasters, when we find ourselves in crises, there's some hallmarks, and there's been decades and decades of research. And what's interesting is this seems to be cross-cultural. Doesn't matter whether it's happening in South Africa, doesn't matter whether it's happening in China or here in New York. The first thing that happens is it's recognizable by mutual aid. Makes sense. you're helping out your neighbor. Yeah, there's a fire, maybe 4 of you get together, try to put out the fire. It's mutual aid. There's not a cash exchange going on. No one is coordinating it, saying, you, put out the fire. You know, we're coming together. And the first thing you find out is there's a thirst for information, and people are sharing information. Now, if they don't have good information, that doesn't mean the sharing stops. They share rumors, they share gossip. People are, what's going on? That's the first question. Did you hear X? Do you know if the roads are safe to go down? Okay. And it's self-organized. It's not that people have planned way ahead of time. In case of this scenario, you're going to be the captain, I'll be the lieutenant, and Dennis will be in charge of sanitation. It doesn't work that way. Or that somebody comes in and says, this is what you're going to do. It just self-organizes. That doesn't mean specialization doesn't occur. That maybe a group of us will decide that we will be the people to go out and check on the older people. And maybe somebody says, hey, I'm a nurse. I can set up a first aid station. So it doesn't mean that specialization doesn't occur or that roles don't appear. It just simply means that it's organized by the group on the fly. These are the groups in charge of managing a crisis. The emergency alert system, it used to be the emergency broadcasting system, used to make that annoying little tone. FEMA, of course, everybody's familiar with, and Department of Homeland Security, who kind of oversees all of it. There are a variety of local and state groups that are also involved. But if you look at here, this is on the first page of the FEMA 2004 policy, explaining how the EAS, the Emergency Alert System, is supposed to work. The primary function of the Emergency Alert System is to support the continuance of government, or COG. All information must be managed. Okay, this is on the first page. And they're not trying to hide this. You don't need to go to WikiLeaks to find this. You just need to go to the FEMA page. And we're going to see more of this kind of approach. What happens when they manage information? Well, this is Whitman, who was in charge of the Environmental Protection Agency during 9/11. You can see the date there is 9/12. And she comes out and says, air quality is entirely safe at ground zero. Did they know that it was safe? No. In fact, they had plenty of reason to believe it was not safe. They actually had run scenarios ahead of time looking at what would be the pollution if the World Trade Center would come down because of the very first bombing. Okay, so they already had this. So they lied. Straight up, they managed the information because it served their needs. And on the side there, you could see that the information was patently false, and it led to serious health issues with people, and probably deaths, and there are countless lawsuits going on right now.
Not only that, but they actually passed a resolution to prohibit people from taking their own air quality samples.
Yeah, right now it's illegal to have a Geiger counter in New York. Passed by legislation. Why? Because information needs to be managed. Why should you know if a dirty bomb has gone off in Times Square? The authorities will let you know when you need to worry. This is another classic one after Hurricane Katrina. This was sent out. It was actually, they had helicopters, instead of picking people up, flying around with this recorded message. Part of that recorded message is there's food, medical care, and transportation at the Superdome. Well, that just wasn't true. They knew it. It wasn't a case of, oh, is there or isn't, because they already had a base there. They were waiting for these people to come. So they were sending people where there wasn't either food, medical care, and of course transportation would come weeks later, and we all got to see it on our TV screen. On the red here is just some statistics, and this little quote on the side, "We have food for security only," was actually broadcast when confronted by a local ABC reporter. It's like, how come there's no food here? Well, we have food. Well, where is it? It's only for the security. This goes back a little bit further, 1906 to San Francisco. And this kind of, I think, captures the mindset that really hasn't changed much about people that are in charge of managing disasters. Volunteers are the problem. This is for professionals. The rabble may help each other out, but it is anarchy. This was General Greeley, who is the person that after the earthquake, let the poor neighborhoods burn to create burn breaks, and then when that didn't work, actually unleashed artillery onto neighborhoods, and eventually knocked out this very well-functioning tent city, which you see the photograph there that lots of writers wrote about. So, I mean, this is the approach that government has. During Katrina, of course, it was famous that the National Guard stopped Red Cross trucks, stopped individual groups that were trying to bring aid, and kept them out of the city because the city was not yet managed. Once the city was managed, then civilian aid could come in. That's the idea. That's the thinking behind these kind of approaches. So it's very understandable, but it may not actually be our agenda as people who tend to suffer from these disasters. So that's all bad news, right? That's all not good. You know, your leaders can't save you, but they can get you killed, is kind of the shorthand message of that, which is not very uplifting, right? Katrina, Haiti, so on and so forth, show us time and time again that the government's attempts at management really turn out to be exercises in mismanagement. However, that being said, the Chinese character for crisis or disaster, Ouija, is actually made up of two characters, which is danger or time of danger and a time of opportunity. And I think that's what we want to talk about here, is how can we make that happen? How can we get mutual aid, self-organization, and revision and resist returning back to the status quo? How can we do that? And I believe in talking with many disaster people who have lived through disasters. We've gone to Katrina, people have gone to Haiti from our group. We know a lot about this stuff. We've been studying it for years. It seems that the key always is information. And that's why we're here at HOPE, and that's why we're here talking about it, because you guys, like it or not, are the non-governmental experts on how to get information to people. Okay? So, but you're not the first people to do that. Pirate radios have been used in crises going way back. They've been used in protests, disasters, and civil unrest. And that was an earlier form of wireless communication that had some advantages. The first one here, we're going to kind of clip through these, is DJ Rabbit, who was, they made a movie, Good Morning Vietnam, but it was really a pirate radio station in Vietnam. And the quote is from a brigadier general who's talking about Rabbit before they figured out who he was, that it had a huge impact in creating protests and things like that. And I thought because of all the stuff we'd been talking about, WikiLeaks, he's kind of like the WikiLeaks before there was internet and personal computers.
But nobody squealed him out.
No, he didn't. He didn't go to jail. Radio Alice in Italy was, I think, one of the very early uses of wireless technology to help and promote self-organization. Of course, the leader of the Calabrini, which is their equivalent of kind of an FBI and state police, put it together, saw them as the kind of, that they couldn't control the streets till they took Radio Alice off the air, which was illegal actually at the time because there were different radio laws in Italy, but they took it off. It was run by a bunch of anarchists. But they were very important. Radio Alice was important not only leading up to the protests and the crisis, but the resisting of the management, providing self-organization, letting people know, and it didn't matter where you were politically, letting people know what was going on in the streets because there was a media blackout. Okay? So again, you have the government trying to control information. Ooh, there's a crisis. There's a bunch of people protesting. We're going to keep all the journalists away. There's protesters that are trying to figure out what's going on, you know, where they can go and things like that. And then you have average people too who want to know, hey, do I have to go to work today or is everything shut down because of the general strike? And the only place people could get that information was Radio Alice. It became hugely popular. All sorts of people were listening to it. And it became a threat on the monopoly of information. I helped found a group called the Emergence Broadcast System. Instead of emergency broadcast system, a little self-organization. And in our mission statement, it was